Is the Fed losing control of the bond market? Is there something else
Well,
occurring, do you think?
it's inflation expectations that are driving the thing, and the expectations, the yield on the 10-year, or if we went to the UK gilts, have gone up. The interest rates have gone down. The interest rates have gone up, and the price of the bonds has gone down, because there is an expectation that inflation is going to raise its ugly head again and start increasing. In the United States, the narrative around that is that Trump is going to be the next president, and he has a lot of policies that are going to be inflationary. Now, this is kind of a silly argument, because increasing tariffs, which is in Trump's bailiwick, will increase the relative prices of imports, but they're not going to change inflation. Inflation changes because of changes in the money supply. So it depends on monetary policy, what happens to inflation, not whether Trump's going to be changing tax policies or changing tariff policies or deregulating the economy or any of these things that he claims he's going to do. The market is kind of embraced all of these things, aggregated them, put them all together, and concluded that Trump's going to be inflationary. Well, we don't know, because we don't know what the Fed is going to do. It's going to be the Fed and regulations on the banks. Now, part of monetary policy, by the way, involves not only what the Fed is doing with quantitative tightening, quantitative easing, whether they're buying and selling bonds, whether they've diddled around with the federal funds rate, are all the things we watch that the central bank might be doing that might have some impact on a small portion of the money supply. But the big portion are the banks. And that will be determined in part from the monetary policy point of view on regulations in banks. One reason, by the way, that the money supply didn't grow very fast after the great financial crisis in 2008 is that the bank regulations became much more severe, and actually the bank contributions, credit creation by banks, actually went negative. And then, as a result, what did the Fed do? Bernanke was the chairman then. We had 3 rounds of quantitative easing that followed the great financial crisis. And fortunately, by the way, because what had happened is that with the great financial crisis, remember that was mortgage-backed securities, problems with the mortgage market, that set off the thing. You had the collapse of Lehman, in which Lehman, although it was solvent, was never bailed out by the Fed. And when Lehman went under, of course, the crisis became international. And Washington, as well as other capitals, came in with harsher bank regulations, which put a noose around the banks. They increased the capital asset ratios of banks. Basel III came in about the same time, which increased the capital asset ratios of banks. And that meant that the banks hunkered down, and they were actually not even renewing loans, and the loans went negative.